Why women stop respecting you after 50. Have you ever looked at the woman beside you and thought, she's not the same person I fell for? Or worse? What happened to the respect, the warmth, the connection? If you're a man over 50 and you've begun to feel invisible, taken for granted, or like you're constantly walking on eggshells in your relationships, you're far from alone. What's happening isn't random. It's part of a silent shift that many men experience after midlife. At first, it's subtle. A tone change, a cooler glance, fewer moments of affection. Over time, the disconnection becomes louder. What once felt like love now feels like obligation, or worse, manipulation. You're giving, explaining, apologizing, and still you're met with coldness or criticism. So what changed? Here's the truth. Most of the time, it's not that she became someone else. It's that you stopped seeing what was really going on, not because you're naive, but because you were hoping, trying, believing, and in that effort to keep the peace, you slowly gave up something vital: your presence, your self-respect, your boundaries. This isn't about blaming her. It's about waking up to the patterns, the dynamics, and most importantly, the quiet power you still have to shift it all. Stay with me, because by the end, I'll give you one subtle shift that makes women treat you differently, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. And before we go further, if you're a man over 50 who's tired of being confused, dismissed, or disrespected in relationships, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment saying I'm ready, and share this video with a brother who needs to hear it, because you deserve more, and it's not too late to reclaim it. Let's get one thing absolutely clear right now. It's not your age that's costing you her respect, it's your boundaries. There's a belief that slowly seeps in as we get older, a belief that the reason she's pulling away, growing cold, or looking past you is because you're not as young, fast, or fit as you used to be, that you've somehow become less attractive just because time passed. But here's the truth. Gray hair doesn't make you invisible. A soft spine does. You don't lose her respect because you've aged. You lose it because you've stopped standing up for yourself. Somewhere along the line, you started saying yes just to keep the peace. You overlooked things you once never would have. You convinced yourself that being easygoing was the same thing as being emotionally mature, but deep down, what you were really doing was giving up pieces of yourself, one silence at a time. And here's the hard truth. Every time you let a red flag slide, every time you let her speak to you in a way that doesn't feel right, every time you ignore your gut to avoid conflict, you send her a message loud and clear: my needs don't matter here. And the moment she believes that, the respect starts to unravel. Women don't respond to smooth talk or grand gestures nearly as much as they respond to steady, grounded consistency. They respect men who don't have to raise their voices to hold a boundary, who don't fold at the first sign of tension, who lead not by dominating, but by being clear about what's okay and what isn't. You don't have to be the biggest or the boldest man in the room, but you do have to be the one who knows who he is and refuses to shrink for anyone, because confidence doesn't start with loud words. It starts with quiet clarity, and clarity, that's what commands respect. Especially in the second half of life, you think she changed, that she used to be sweet, patient, or tender, and then she flipped. But here's a hard truth that can set you free. She didn't change. You just didn't see the signs. In the early stages of attraction, it's easy to overlook what we don't want to see. You might remember how she laughed at your jokes, how affectionate she was, but what about how she talked about her exes? What about how quickly she got jealous or dismissive? How she tested your patience or played hot and cold with her attention? You saw red flags, but painted them white. And that's not a weakness. It's a habit born from hope. But hope without discernment leads to heartbreak. The good news? You can train your eyes and your heart to spot what's real from what's performative. This pattern doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're human. And it means it's time to stop idealizing chemistry and start honoring compatibility. Look for how she handles conflict, how she speaks about people when they're not around, how she responds when she doesn't get her way. Because women always reveal themselves early on, the question is, will you listen with your gut or only with your ego? Even at 50, 60 or 70, yes, women still test men. And no, it's not because they're trying to play games, manipulate you, or make your life harder. It's instinctive. Sometimes it's not even conscious, but it's real. These tests aren't about catching you in a mistake. They're subtle ways she asks. Can I trust you? Are you steady? Will you stay grounded even when I'm overwhelmed? Will you react like a boy or respond like a man? These moments come in disguise, a sarcastic remark, a bit of coldness, a challenge to something you believe in, a sudden emotional wave just to see if you'll anchor or drift. And how you respond says everything. If you crumble at the first sign of tension, apologize for things you didn't do, or change your values just to win her approval, she doesn't see a man she can rely on. She sees someone still searching for validation. She sees emotional instability. She sees weakness, not wisdom. And that's when something shifts. She may not walk away, but she will pull back. Her tone flattens, her admiration fades. You become the man she tolerates, not the one she trusts. The real secret: hold your ground. Don't try to fix her moods. Don't mirror her chaos. Be the steady presence in the room, the calm center she can lean on. True emotional strength isn't about being loud or dominant. It's about being unwavering, quiet but firm, soft-spoken but unshakable, and that kind of man. Women of all ages respect him deeply. Let's have an honest conversation about beauty, because for men over 50, this is one of the most common traps that quietly robs you of your power in relationships. You meet a woman who's stunning. She walks into a room and every head turns, including yours. She shows interest in you, maybe even flirts a little. And suddenly, something happens inside. You feel special, maybe even lucky. You think, she could have anyone. And she chose me. That thought right there, it's where the trouble begins. From that moment, many men start to shift. You tiptoe around her moods. You avoid disagreeing with her. You let small signs of disrespect slide, not because you're weak, but because deep down, you've told yourself a lie. This is as good as it gets. I can't afford to lose her. And when a woman senses that your self-worth is tied to her looks or her attention, she no longer sees strength. She sees someone she can control. But when you admire her beauty without becoming a servant to it, when you stay composed, centered, and self-respecting, something shifts. She realizes you're not with her because she's beautiful. You're with her in spite of it, because you value character, peace, loyalty, presence. That is when she brings more. That's when respect and real intimacy begin. Let's take a step beneath the surface, because if you've ever asked yourself, why do I keep ending up in relationships where I'm not respected? The answer usually isn't just about her. It often begins long before her. In childhood, maybe. You grew up with a mother who was unpredictable, one day warm, the next distant. Or perhaps love in your home came with conditions. Be quiet, be helpful, don't upset anyone, and maybe then you'd be worthy of affection. So what did you learn? That love must be earned, that to be accepted you have to minimize your needs, that silence keeps the peace, that being good means being small. Fast forward 40 years, and those lessons are still alive inside you. You find yourself tolerating what you shouldn't, giving more than you have, shrinking to avoid confrontation, and confusing emotional discomfort with emotional closeness. Here's the truth. If you had to earn love as a child, you'll subconsciously accept pain, confusion, and disrespect as part of adult connection. It won't feel wrong, it'll feel familiar, but you can break that cycle. The first step, awareness. naming the wound. The second step, reclaiming your voice, choosing peace with yourself over approval from others, because love that costs you your truth isn't love at all. It's emotional debt, and you've already paid enough. It's time to clear up one of the most damaging myths men carry. Boundaries are not walls. Too many men confuse the two. They believe that setting boundaries makes them cold, rigid, or difficult to love. But in reality, boundaries aren't meant to shut people out. They're meant to let the right ones in while keeping the wrong energy away. A wall says, stay out. A boundary says, come close, but respectfully. And when you're a man who has spent years trying to be agreeable, easygoing, and accommodating just to maintain peace, boundaries can feel unnatural, even selfish. But they're not. Boundaries are a declaration. I know what love feels like, and it doesn't include disrespect. Love is not yelling, it's not emotional games, it's not you walking on eggshells or constantly wondering where you stand. Love is steady, it's kind, it's reciprocal. When you say, I don't tolerate being spoken to that way, you're not causing drama, you're removing confusion. And in a world full of blurred lines and emotional guesswork, that kind of clarity is powerful and rare. You don't need to explain your standards or fight to defend them. Simply stand in them. And calmly, let your energy speak louder than your words, because a man who protects his peace doesn't repel good women. He attracts women who protect their peace too. And that's where real connection begins. There's a kind of power most men never fully realize they have. The quiet, unwavering power to walk away, not in anger, not as a threat, and not in the heat of the moment. I'm talking about the power to calmly and confidently step back when your boundaries have been crossed, without raising your voice, without a dramatic scene, and without explaining yourself over and over, hoping she'll finally get it. This isn't about punishment. It's about self-respect. It's about knowing that your time, your peace, and your dignity are not negotiable. It's about saying without words, I'd rather be alone with my integrity than partnered in emotional confusion. And here's what happens when you carry that kind of energy. She takes notice. A woman can feel it when a man is no longer afraid to lose her. It's not detachment. It's grounded strength. And it sends a message louder than any speech ever could. I choose me. Some women will rise to meet you. They'll adjust, grow, respect the line you drew. Others will walk away, and you'll let them, because either way, you win. Real love doesn't require you to shrink, to prove, or to chase. It invites you to stand tall. And the moment you start choosing peace over proving your worth, you stop being someone she can test and start being someone she respects. Here's the turning point. The shift that changes everything. Stop chasing her. Start choosing you. You don't need to convince a woman of your worth. You need to live it. Let your actions, not your words, speak volumes. Stand on your values. Walk with quiet confidence. Be curious about her, yes, but never blindly impressed. Be kind and generous, but never at the cost of your self-respect. Be emotionally available, but never afraid to walk if respect isn't returned. The man who lives by his own code doesn't crave approval, because he already carries inner certainty. And that energy, it's magnetic. Women sense it. The ones with maturity and depth will admire it. The ones looking to control or manipulate will back away because they know they can't push you off your center. If you want to change the way women treat you, stop molding yourself into what you think they want. Start showing up as who you truly are, fully, boldly, unapologetically, because the right woman isn't looking for perfect. She's looking for steady. She's looking for presence, and she's looking for a man who already respects himself before he ever asks for hers. Let me leave you with this, because it might be the most important part of all. You are not too old. You are not too late, and you are absolutely not too broken. You are at the perfect point in life to reclaim what was always yours, but may have been forgotten. Your voice, your values, your peace. The experiences you've lived through haven't weakened you. They've prepared you. This is your moment to rise with clarity, not noise, to stop shrinking yourself just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Start saying what you truly mean. Speak from your truth, not your fear. Mean what you say, even if your voice trembles. Stop making excuses for disrespect. Stop calling chaos chemistry. And stop accepting behavior that you know deep down chips away at your spirit. Love yourself in a way that sets a new standard. One so clear, so calm, so powerful, that the only kind of love you entertain from this day forward is the kind that honors you back, not half love, not tolerated presence, but full, mature, mutual respect. Because here's the reality, no woman can respect you more than you respect yourself. And the second you embody that, fully and without apology, everything changes, including her. If this message resonated with you, drop a comment below. I'm reclaiming my respect. Share this with a man who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more unfiltered truth, grounded strength, and the kind of clarity that brings real peace. You weren't born to be tolerated. You were born to be honored. Now let's go build the man you were always meant to be.